Hey, this is Jay from Stitch in Time in Bemidji, Minnesota, back for another lesson on Handi Quilter Pro-Stitcher. This one is a little bit more advanced on how to do edge-to-edge quilting when you have multiple rows that you can do in the same section of quilt before you have to advance it. And so a lot of times you might be able to do 2, 3, or more rows, and rather than having to stitch from left to right, stop, go back to the left side, start again, I want to show you a quick way how to tie the two right edges together so it'll stitch from left to right, come down a little bit, and stitch from right to left back to the beginning. So let me show you how this works. Okay, so the way we're going to do this now is we're going to make up our area first. So go up to area, to corner, and we're going to make this one 45 inches wide. Oops, I got to do it over here. And I have to do it off the screen. Sorry, it's not recording that right there. And I'm going to say I have about 18 inches of quilting space for my height. And now I can do a whole house refresh, and there's my quilting space. So now I'm going to go up to the File tab. I'm going to open up a design. I'm going to use Flipped on Feathers this time just for something fun to do. And once I have it up there, go up to the Repeat tab, and I'm going to repeat this horizontally. You know what? I'm going to do just 4 times right there. Now, it's going to hang over a little bit on the edge, and that's just fine. If you want to know why I have it hang over on the edge, go back and watch the complete edge-to-edge tutorial that I posted before, and you'll find more of the details there. The important thing is when you get to the end here, you want to baseline this, okay? So I'm going to go over to the left side and baseline this. Now I'm going to go up to my Edit tab. This is one we don't use very often. I'm going to duplicate that exactly the same. Now you may wonder, well, nothing happened, but if you go over here to the workspace, you're going to see there's 2 of them here. That's okay. I'm going to just work with it, and I'm going to go to the Modify tab, and I'm going to click on Rotate. Now I'm not going to rotate it, but over here is where we would have our mirror and our flip key. And so I want to flip this, and you might say, oh, that looks like a horrible mess. And that's okay, because they're just both on top of each other. So I'm going to go up, I'm going to make sure my Select tool on, and I'm going to click and touch here, and I'm going to drag this down. Now one of the important things about this is that you don't have any of these lines touching. Now if you want to get in close so you can see what it's going to look like, I can take my zoom tool and just zoom into here, and I can see where that is, and then I can go to reposition, and I can use my nudge tools to get it close, but I don't want it to be touching at all. There you go. I think that looks probably good. I'm going to go whole house refresh so I can see the whole thing again. But I'm also going to do something here as well. Remember, the top row is going to stitch from left to right, and now this row I want to stitch from right to left. So I do that by swapping the start and stop, the start and end. So notice that the green dot is here now, and the red dot is over here. So we're good to go there. What do we need to do now? Baseline. Yep, we're going to baseline that again, and then we are ready to go. So now we're going to go to the, let's see here. I got to make sure my sound is muted so that no one can hear my other notifications coming in on my computer. So now I am going to connect these 2 so it'll be one continuous run the whole way from one to the other. Now this takes a little bit of doing, but I think that it makes it work very well, especially when you got lots of small rows. Rather than you have to stop and trim your threads both of every row, this is a way that you can do this. I'm going to zoom into, I still have my zoom tool on, I'm going to zoom into this top right corner here, and on your machine you would actually take the handlebars and you would move it up to so the crosshairs are right on this point. Now I'm using the Simulate tool, and so I'm going to take and it's going to simulate moving my machine until my needle is right there. Now you can actually zoom in even more, and really make sure that it's on place. And sometimes I'm finding out on these on this that there is a little bug in using this on my computer when you're using the simulate tool. So you want to get it as close to that as possible, and I'm going to just drop it right on there. We'll see if it works, okay? And go from there. All right, so now I need to start and create a connecting stitch that's going to stitch the first row down to the second row. So I go up to the Pro-Stitcher tab, and I'm going to click on the record button. And if you have an Amara or an Infinity, you can actually, or a Forte will have this too, you have these programmable buttons. So the diamond is on the right side, so you can click that diamond right on the handlebar, or I'm going to touch it on the screen. If you have a Avante or a Moxie, you'd have to do that as well. So I click mark, and it's going to do a little ding for you. And now I'm going to move my machine. Remember, I'm in simulate mode. I'm going to move my stitch out here a little bit. I don't want to stitch across the end of this one just for whatever sake. Move my needle just a little bit to the right. Do another mark. And now I'm going to move my needle the whole way down here till it's just before the end of the next row there. Okay? And I'm just going to do another mark there. And now this is the one where I have to be right on top. Now you move your needle so that the needle is right on top of the end or the beginning of that next row. And I click mark again. So now I'm going to do a whole house refresh so you can see this. Actually, I'll go into zoom so you can see just that part there. So now, remember, it's going to stitch out on this one, end at this point. Now I've just created a little connecting point to come down to the next one. All right? So I'm going to go back to select. And if you look on the right-hand side of your screen up here, there's a tab that says Workspace. When I click on Workspace, notice that it has these areas. We have three pieces here. Flipped on feathers. And then there's another one with a number 2. Now I can change this. I can click on this one and I can rename it down here. And we're going to say flipped on feathers first. Click there and click on this one. Click rename. And we're going to flip on feathers second. And we can enter that as well. So that way we can tell which ones are which. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure my select tool is on, and I'm going to drag a box around all 3 pieces. And notice what it does. It makes a grouped section over here. But I don't want it stitching the first, then the second, and then this little connecting point in here. I want this to be in between these two, and I can do that with this arrow here. And this is where you need to test it out. If you can, when you move that up in there and you see these little black squares show up, you're golden, because that means that it's recognizing those ends are close together. All right, so now I'm going to do whole house refresh so you can see that the start point's going to be here. It's going to make connecting dots here, and it's going to end over here. So what should I do? You got it. Baseline this. Now, the reason I used an area here is because I want to see how it's going to fit in here. And a lot of times, if I was going to want to maximize my advances, I could have done a whole bunch of rows and then connected the same thing here and the same thing here. Sometimes that gets just to be a little bit labor intensive. But what I can do is, let's say that my area is not actually 45 by 18, but rather it's 45 by 62. Well, now you can see that it's a whole lot bigger in here, but now I can go up to my repeat tab and I can just repeat that duplicated one that I had the whole way down through. And thus, I don't have to do that on all of them. They're all ready to go. So that's a really quick way of being able to do that. By the way, let's go back here. I'll stitch this out here and talk to you a little bit. Let's just zoom to just this. I'm going to go to my area and I'm going to clear the area off so you can see just this, because I want you to see how this is actually going to stitch out. So I'm going to simulate, put my needle back over here, go to quilt, and I'm going to click run. And so it's going to click proceed, and there we go. And it's going to stitch this all out in one continuous piece. So when would I not want to use this? Well, if you're doing this on a pattern that is 12 inches tall and you can't do 2 passes in the same without advancing your quilt, you're not going to want to do this. But if you're doing like the clamshell with a curl, which is only 4 inches tall, you might be able to get 4, maybe even 5, depending on your machine, rows before you have to advance it. And that's a lot of tying off, moving it back, starting it. A lot of times I'm doing other things while my machine is running. And so if I can let it just go continuously from one side to the other, then I'm good to go. And that's a really nice thing that you can do. The other thing about this is that, let's say you create a big block that you took the time to connect all the dots left to right, and then you cropped it and connected your edges. I think that'll still work. And so it's a nice way of being able to do larger areas. So what you could do is you could take the time to create a big file like this, crop the edges, click connect edges. Sorry, Pro-Stitcher Lite users, you don't have that option there. And then it will be able to do that over your whole run. I think that should still work. I'm not certain on that. I haven't played with that too much yet. But anyways, I wanted you to see this, how to do this, because this was a really cool tool that I had for just cutting the time that I had to be moving from right to left in half by connecting these edges in place. So let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments below whether this works for you or not, or if there's things that didn't work with you on your behalf, because I find this as a very useful tool. Let's also talk about you can resize these very easily by skewing them, by just shortening them in once you do it this way. So like, let's say I do a lot of Quilts of Valor quilts, and I want to be able to do a pattern. Here you go, watch it on the screen there now. See how it just connects down here? And it just keeps right on going without having to do this. Let's say I do a lot of Quilts of Valor or lap quilts that are all a similar size. Well, I might lay out something like this and do the whole quilt and then save that. And then if my next quilt is 2 inches wider, no problem. Just stretch it out 2 inches and you're going to be just fine. Well, that's your lesson for today. I hope this works for you. I hope you have a lot of fun with it. And I hope to see you again in the next class.